Welcome back to DK Sports Radio. You're listening to the Miller Lite Q&A podcast. I'm Chris Carter here at DKPittsburghSports.com. I am the NFL lead analyst, and considering that the NFL just had the Super Bowl, I'm coming at you with answering questions regarding the NFL and a few other things. But coming off of the Eagles' first ever Super Bowl victory, 41-33 over the New England Patriots with a backup quarterback, no less. Our first question comes from Craig Howe, who asks, what the heck did Malcolm Butler, the cornerback for the New England Patriots, do to not get any snaps in the Super Bowl? And Craig makes a good point of this question here, because Malcolm Butler is the same Malcolm Butler who, against the Seattle Seahawks, intercepted Russell Wilson at the goal line and effectively won the Super Bowl for the New England Patriots. Not too long ago, he was the hero, the Super Bowl hero that kept him in. He was one of the guys that I was talking about before this game, saying if he's in there, he's going to be a difference maker, because he can trail people, he can cut under routes really well. He's not easy to shake off, but the Patriots benched him, and at first I thought it was because of a flu bug that was floating around the locker rooms. The Eagles reported several players who got sick during the middle of the week. The Patriots started to report a few players towards the end of the week. I thought it was part of the flu, but Malcolm Butler said he was good to go. And after the game, he even said, he said, I think I would have made a difference out there. It wasn't on me to not play. I don't understand the decision. And right now, I mean, you got to look at that, and you're wondering, what's up, Bill Belichick? Because that's your Super Bowl. I don't think he was Super Bowl MVP, but that's your Super Bowl winning cornerback right there. And he was instrumental in their run last year to win the Super Bowl. So yeah, I mean, you got to wonder, and not just because they put their other cornerbacks outside, like they had Stephon Gilmore, I think Eric Rowe was the other one. But the problem was they put a fourth string cornerback in the slot, and the Patriots, they love to rely on their secondary to make plays and to keep them in games and make those consistent tackles. And that fourth string cornerback was getting torched in the slot by Nelson Aguilar all game. So it's a very good question, Craig Howe. I think Bill Belichick, he went to the well one too many times on his whole anybody can play as long as they're coached up well enough in any position in my defense. And I mean, you got to look at, his history of that. Yeah, Mike Vrabel went from the Steelers and became a superstar for the Patriots. He was a guy that everyone looked over. Malcolm Butler himself was an undrafted player that became a superstar cornerback because of that play. And you look at other guys. I mean, the Patriots have lived off of this. They got rid of Chandler Jones, who had a spectacular season for the Cardinals this year. They got rid of Jamie Collins, who was probably their best linebacker a couple years ago. And they've continued to just shed defensive players, thinking that they can just keep replacing them. And I think it came back to bite them in this situation. That's a personnel decision that Bill Belichick, I think, is going to look back at and say he might have cost himself a Super Bowl, because the Eagles receivers were making plays out there with Nick Foles. They only intercepted Nick Foles once, and it was after Alshon Jeffrey accidentally tipped a ball a little too high up in the air, and Duran Harmon got under it and intercepted the ball. But that wasn't a play that the cornerbacks said, "Oh, I'm going to jump this and get the interception," like Malcolm Butler did in the Super Bowl. That was a play in which they made themselves. So thank you for the question, Craig. But long story short, we don't know for sure why Bill Belichick said that. Maybe Butler didn't have a good week of practice. Maybe he showed up late for something. Maybe he had an attitude that Bill Belichick didn't like. Whatever it was, he didn't feel like it was good to put him out there, and maybe that did cost him. So thank you, Craig. We're going to be right back with another question on the Miller Lite Q&A podcast.
It's time to cash in on nonstop sports action with MyBookie.ag. They have in-game live betting on nearly every sporting event, plus MyBookie.ag will match your deposit with a bonus up to 100%. With decades of expertise and no-hassle payouts, you'll experience the greatest customer service in the business, guaranteed. Use promo code DKRadio to activate your bonus of up to 100%. Call 844-900-BETS or visit MyBookie.ag to open an account. Sign up today.
Miller Lite is the original light beer, and we'll always brew it to have more taste, with only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs. Because we believe that if you compromise on taste, you can taste the compromise. Miller Lite. Hold true.
Great beer, great responsibility. 2018 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Average analysis, 12 fluid ounces. Less than 1 gram protein, 0 grams fat.
What I want from my public accounting firm is big ideas.
But I don't want to lose the personal attention.
My company needs global capabilities.
From a firm with local ownership.
And I want to work with industry experts.
Who take the time to understand my unique challenges. And that's what sets Schneider Downs apart. Expertise for the most complex business issues. With the service you need every day. To learn how our big thinking with a personal focus can help your company, visit schneiderdowns.com.
If you're one of the thousands of Western Pennsylvanians who love to get outdoors, then you need to check out this amazing new website, stepoutside.org. Hi, I'm Dan Kovacevic of DK Sports Radio. I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh. I know about the outdoor life that's available to all of us in Western Pennsylvania. Learn where, when, and how you can go camping, hiking, hunting, take part in power sports, shooting sports, water sports in your local community, across our region, across the country at stepoutside.org.
Welcome back to DK Sports Radio. You're listening to the Miller Lite Q&A podcast. I'm Chris Carter, NFL analyst here at DKPittsburghSports.com, and we are answering your questions. We just got done with Craig Howe's question about why Malcolm Butler, the New England cornerback, didn't start or get any snaps for the Patriots in their loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. Butler, after the game, said that he would have impacted the game. But moving on from that, we're going to move forward to Church of Greg, and we have an announcement because we are now officially announcing that the winner of the monthly Q&A prize for the month of January goes to none other than Church of Greg. Thank you, Church of Greg. You've been a great friend of the website. Be sure to reach out to us, and we will be reaching out to you to contact you about your prize. But we answer now Church of Greg's question, which is another year it seems the Steelers should have been in the Super Bowl. What are the top 5 Steelers teams to not play in the Super Bowl? Well, let's work up the list. Let's say number 5. Number 5 is going to be, if I had to think back of all the teams that have came close and failed, I guess I would say the 2001 team would be number 5 team. The 2001 team that lost to the New England Patriots with Cordell Stewart at quarterback. Jerome Bettis was rocking. Amos Zaraway was doing really well. Hines Ward and Plaxico Burress were a nice tandem. You had Jason Gilden and Joey Porter bringing it from the edges. Casey Hampton was a young ball. I think actually that was the year Chris Hoke stepped up in 2004. It was the Steelers were ballistic. They were a really good team. They just befell some crazy stuff that happened in that Patriots game. I think they had a blocked field goal return for a touchdown and a punt return for a touchdown that gave New England the victory. And I think they only lost by 4 points. So that would be number 5. Number 4, if I had to pick the number 4 team, I guess I'd go with the 97 Steelers. Because I thought they were another team. They had a younger Cordell Stewart, but that's when they had Yancey Thigpen. They fell short at the AFC Championship game to the Denver Broncos, who also went to go on and win the Super Bowl that year, just like the New England Patriots. They were really talented. They had a tough defense. Terrell Davis was coming through a lot for the Broncos, and he was the reason Elway got 2 Super Bowls. No Terrell Davis, no Super Bowls for John Elway. Simple as that. John Elway was a great quarterback, but he needed that weapon to put him over the top. But I mean, that team, they also had Dermontti Dawson, and if you remember, Cordell Stewart had a scramble for a touchdown in that game, and Dermontti Dawson pulled from the center position, and didn't just pull because pounds he pulls, but he became a lean blocker and absolutely crushed someone's souls on the sideline, and that opened up the lane for Cordell Stewart to take it. I think it was like a 50-yard run. Levon Kirkland also had an interception on John Elway. It was a very interesting team, a very fun team to watch. It was unfortunate for them that they fell short. So they're my number 4. Number 3. I think if we're talking about teams that didn't make the Super Bowl for the Steelers, I guess we'd have to go with, to be fair, the 94 team, the team that lost to the San Diego Chargers, because the next year they did make the Super Bowl. And they lost to the Cowboys, but they had the game, the end of the game at the end, where I think they dropped the touchdown against the Chargers in the AFC Championship game. Neil O'Donnell was there. He had some Bam Morris. Basically a much younger version of the 97 team with a few more players here and there, but yeah, I'd go with them. And they had Carnell Lake, Rod Woodson. Got to include that era of players. Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green were on that team as well. So yeah, I'd go with them as my number 3. My number 2 team is going to be the 15-1 team in 2004, because they were 15-1, and that was Ben's rookie year. They were on fire, and then Ben Roethlisberger kind of locked up against the Jets in the divisional round, and then against the Patriots. You can say Spygate or whatever, but he threw too many interceptions, and the Steelers couldn't figure out how to stop the Patriots throughout the game, and they ended up losing in embarrassing fashion. Now, again, the reason they're there is because at the number 2 spot is because the next year they went and won the Super Bowl, and they showed that they were no flukes that year for having the record that they did. But 15-1, the best regular season record ever by a Steelers team, you got to consider that team up there. So you're thinking, well, is this year's team number 1? Heck no. We're out of here. Get that mess out of here. Any real Steelers fan knows that the number 1 Steelers team to never make the Super Bowl has to be the 1976 Pittsburgh Steelers with 5 straight shutouts. I think it was. Was it straight? I think it was just 5 shutouts. I'm a little exaggerating there. It's before my time, but I've watched several of those games, and that team just beat people up and down the field. The team that started, I think they started 1-4, and then with a 3rd-string rookie, Mike Kruchek, came in and he won. I think, was it like 7 games in a row? He set the record in the NFL for most consecutive wins to start their career as a rookie quarterback. Would be later surpassed by Ben Roethlisberger, funny enough. But it was all because the Steel Curtain defense. The Steel Curtain defense, it was just the best it had been. That was the best era of the Steel Curtain defense. It was just a shame that they lost both Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier in the playoffs before they lost to the Oakland Raiders. And the Oakland Raiders were happy because that's when they won Super Bowl XI. But it was very possible that had Harris and Bleier been healthy, that the Steelers go on to beat the Raiders and then go on to beat the Vikings again in the Super Bowl, and that the Steelers would have three-peated before that they would win 2 more. But you can't have everything. They still had 4-6. No team's been able to do that since. And they still have the most impressive dynasty over a span of time. I guess, did you guys 6 or 7 years with a nucleus that's together. People could talk about New England having 5 and 17 years or however long you want to stretch that out. That's not one dynasty. Those are 2 different teams. They just had one player and one coach that were the same. But yeah, so those are my 5. Thank you for the question, Church of Greg. My number 1 has to be the 76 Steelers, arguably the greatest defense of all time, and arguably the most I wouldn't even say arguably. It is the biggest letdown of a Steelers team for them not to win, even though they had won 2 years before that in a row, because they certainly had all the talent in the world. And if you think it's crazy to think that with all the riches that dynasty had, that someone can say, what if they had just gotten one more? But you have to consider it with how good they were. Thank you for the question. We're going to be back with the final question and this week's winner of Question of the Week right after this.
In Pittsburgh, we bleed black and gold and love our city. Born in Pittsburgh and now celebrating 130 years in business, Henny Jewelers is proud to be your premier jewelry store. Whether it's choosing that watch you've always wanted, or you're searching for the ring that was made for her, trust Henny Jewelers. Visit our store on Walnut Street in Shadyside to see our extensive inventory of designer engagement rings, watches, and one-of-a-kind jewelry. For more, go to hennyjewelers.com and follow on social.
Embarrassed by that stained carpet in your office? Tired of looking at your dull, dirty floor? My Floor Needs is here to fix that. With years of experience and 24/7 service, My Floor Needs offers stripping and waxing, carpet, tile, grout, and concrete cleaning, as well as polishing and buffing services. Call 888-67-MY-FLOOR or email info@myfloorneeds.com for a free estimate and get your floors looking like new again. Whatever your floor needs, call 888-67-MY-FLOOR.
Does your company ever miss its sales goals or struggle getting new business?
Is it tough to hire or to give reps the right tools?
Hi, I'm Dan, and I started Engaged Prospect right here in Pittsburgh to help companies like yours.
And I'm Sam. We're helping companies hit sales goals and grow their businesses.
Think of us as your inside sales team.
Our clients are experts in their fields. We're experts in inside sales.
Give us a call today at 412-715-5151.
Or visit us online at engagedprospect.com/DK.
It's been 50 years since the Summer of Love, but if you're not performing as well as you'd like, check out NEDforless.com. I'm Eric Cushy of Curtis Pharmacy. Don't pay premium prices for the little blue pill. So Denafil, the same active ingredient as in Viagra, costs 80% less. NEDforless.com. All we need is your physician's name. We do the rest. Free shipping too. NEDforless.com. Curtis Pharmacy, Western PA's Better Way Pharmacy. CurtisPharmacy.com.
Welcome back to DK Sports Radio. You are listening to the Miller Lite Q&A podcast. I am Chris Carter, NFL analyst here at DKPittsburghSports.com, and it is time for your question of the week winner, and it comes from none other than our regular listener and contributor, Radio Wave. He's always asking the good questions. Congratulations, Radio Wave. Be sure to reach out to us. We will reach out to you about contact for your prize for this week's question of the week. But his question is a good one, and it doesn't just involve one sport. It involves all sports in the sense that how do you feel about pro leagues playing games outside of the U.S. and Canada? Makes a lot of sense to ask that question because recently this year it was expected that the Steelers were going to have to play the Raiders in Mexico City because those are two high-profile teams. The Raiders just moved to Las Vegas. They have a huge pull in Mexico, and that would have been a very interesting game to highlight. But they did not do that. I think it was the Chiefs and the Jaguars or someone else, but it wasn't. The Steelers are not involved with the Mexico City game. The last time the Steelers were involved with a game like this, it was when the Steelers lost to the Vikings in 2013 in London. But that being said, to answer your question, Radio Wave, I don't think it's cool. I think it's a bad look. I get the idea that you're trying to expand the sport, and they should, because I think football is the best sport in the world, and I think it's important to try to expand your brand and get more people to like your sport. But at the same time, you're talking about being fair, and I guess in other senses, maybe in baseball it's okay because there's 162 games, or in basketball and hockey it's a little bit different because they play so many games this season. But in a season like football, when there are 16 games and you only get 8 home games, and you strip one of those, you have to strip a team's home game away to make this work and to make this a neutral territory type of deal. And it's just not fair to make them lose a home game that could change their entire season. Some teams really depend on their home field advantage to make the playoffs, and they have to play somewhere else that they're not used to. It throws off all the time zones. The players are mentally and physically out of whack because of it. And not to say that it should excuse them from having to do their jobs, but there's so many factors you have to take into account. And then at the same time, again, you're passing up on another home game opportunity for those teams. I think that the NFL is trying a little too hard to expand. I think it'll be a big mistake to give London a team right now, simply because that team is going to there's going to be a huge advantage for that team when someone travels to them, and a huge disadvantage for that team when they have to travel to someone else because of the time difference. I mean, it's a huge gap. When we were getting ready to head to Chicago, I think it was the Jaguars were playing the Ravens at like 9 a.m. here at in local time, but it was 1 o'clock there in London. So I'm not for it in this sense because I think it's cool. People get to travel and see new things, and and people can expand it. But ultimately, I think it's just fine the way it is. If you want to expand, if you want to go out there and get people, send the players out there for vacations, do the Pro Bowl out there. That's a good idea. That'll get more attention outside of there. Or do exhibition games out there. That makes more sense. But doing regular season games, not a good look, not fair to the teams involved, especially the ones that lose their home games and don't get them back. And that might, and sometimes you have to think, does that impact a team's season? That being said, thank you for the question, Radio Wave. Again, you're the winner of the week. Thank you for listening to the Miller Lite Q&A podcast. Be sure to keep up with DK Sports Radio. We got a lot coming at you this week, especially following the big win for the Philadelphia Eagles. We don't cover the Eagles, but any news in the NFL that big is huge, especially with Tom Brady and the Patriots losing their 5th Super Bowl, tied for the most all-time in losses, and they now have 5-5. They're 500 in the Super Bowl, and they did not tie the Steelers as many people said that they would in that game. But we also have coming up this week, Marc-Andre Fleury makes his return to Pittsburgh. We'll be talking about a lot of that and more here on DK Sports Radio and on DKPittsburghSports.com. I'm Chris Carter, signing off.